Hi, welcome to the Lower Makefield Township Park and Recreation Board, October 11th, 2022 meeting. My name is Mike Brody. I am the vice chair. We're going to be doing roll call to start. Doug Kraus, our chair, is not in today. David Malinowski is also absent. And in the room with me is Rob Labar. And on the screen and the television, I guess on, what's that called? Zoom, is Kim Rock, Mike Blundy, and Dennis Basaki. James McCartney, are you present? And looks like James might not be on our supervisor liaison. We'll start with approval of meeting minutes from September 13, 2022. Does anybody have any comments?
Well written. I move we accept the minutes.
Okay, we have a move. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Very good. Any comments? Call to question? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, aye. Approved 5-0. For the next topic, is that we're going to stay on in order? Very good. So for the next topic, we're going to do a temporary bike lane presentation. Here with us today is Allison Davis, which would be from TMA, I believe. Very good. Allison, you want to come join us? Hi, thank you. Whichever you're more comfortable at, it's totally fine with us.
Hey, my name is Allison Davis. I'm from TMA Bucks. I'm a project coordinator with them, and I am our point person for our pop-up bike and pedestrian lanes around Bucks County. TMA Bucks, if you're not familiar with us, we're a 5014 nonprofit. We are in connection with PennDOT and DVRPZ, the Delaware Valley National Planning Commission, and our goals are to improve transit, ease congestion, create less vehicle pollution, improve access to jobs, and create safer and more appealing facilities. So the project I'll be talking about is our pop-up bike lanes. So we have a 2-year window for this project. It was funded by DVRPC, so we're not asking for the township for any type of funds. We'll be providing the funds as well as the engineers putting the bike lanes in. So we're just asking the townships for a location for the project. The Bucks County pop-up pedestrian project, pedestrian bike project, has the power to connect communities, not only through Bucks County, but throughout the greater Philadelphia metropolitan region as a whole. We'll be improving the current state of bike and pedestrian infrastructure, working towards tying together goals and visions of the region's transportation demand management plan. The goals for this project are to obtain public support for bike lanes to become permanent in supporting towns, create awareness and safety for bikers and pedestrians, engage community members to decrease single occupancy vehicle use, promote use of biking and walking to decrease air pollution, and to gather feedback and data. If the bike lanes were to be put in place in Lower Makefield, we would do a project evaluation to see if they were successful enough to be put in permanently. If they were successful enough, we would then go ahead to attempt at another grant to have them put in permanently. A pre and post survey would go out for residents around the area where we would put the bike lanes in, and then designated days would be identified for the demonstration. We would gather qualitative and quantitative data through the surveys that would give insight from the user counts alone, and then also through qualitative data by asking people what they thought of the project. You guys have any questions right now?
No, I just want to follow up. We do have a site in mind on Dolington Road, north of Woodside Road. There's a 12-foot wide shoulder where a path wouldn't make sense, but a bike lane would. I think this would be a prime location. We've had many residents requesting this site, and we often have to have that conversation where, you know, bike lane isn't really feasible. Yeah, I think that's right there, right crossing 95.
On Dolington and Woodside?
Dolington and north of Woodside.
Is it a state road? Or a local road?
I'm
Not
not
sure.
100% sure, but I'll find out.
Okay, there's no issue with doing state versus local. I just have to, for the state roads, I have to have them at least 8 weeks in advance to get approval from PennDOT. I already have a contact at PennDOT who's been giving me approval for certain roads. It just depends on the signage of the road and things like that. Hence, if I had to cover something, I don't think I would there. It just depends on the right and left turn lanes. Trying to think if there's anything else I can go over with you guys. I have examples of other bike lanes that pop-up bike projects that were put in the area. There was one put up in Narberth in Montgomery County, and theirs was successful enough to where they put them in permanently on their in the main borough. And then there was also one in Collingswood, New Jersey that was put in permanently. And then there was one in Westchester that was not successful enough to be permanent. We found that they are more successful on the roads that are in boroughs, because a lot of time when you do them in boroughs, you have to take away parking. So I think the location where you're talking about would be good, because we wouldn't be taking away any parking.
Is a state road.
Okay, so I just would have to obviously get approval from PennDOT.
No. One of the meetings in the past, we were discussing the county park there, the bike lanes and the whole
The Greenway,
things that they were designing and figuring out where our bike lanes may go and stuff like that. Does this segue into that at all, or?
I don't believe it necessarily segues into that particular plan that you're referring to. But we do have some paths that we'll talk about today also, connectivity projects.
This data help in determining, I know there were a couple different paths that they proposed getting down to like the river.
Jim brought that up to me when I met with him. He brought up that you guys have a plan in place after this, like lit down the road, and he said it could tie into it.
Okay.
Rob,
Because
could
you
you turn your
guys could
microphone?
use the data.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt Allison. I was just asking Rob to turn on his microphone.
What was that?
What did you say? You might
Good.
just have to move it closer.
I was just asking about the previous meeting that we had with regard to the bike paths that were proposed throughout Bucks and I think also Montgomery County, and if this would somehow segue in or provide us some data that would help in our assessment of those, because I know there was a couple different paths to try and get down to the river and some of the other places that they were proposing bike lanes.
Did I answer your question?
I did. Yeah, I just wanted to ask Allison how they get funded. How are you funded for these projects?
We applied for the travel options program grant.
It's all
And
through
we were
grants.
awarded $270,000 for the program.
What would be our next step then, Allison, to take part in this process?
So the next step would obviously be you giving me the location. Then I go to PennDOT, see if it's approved, the location. And then my goal is to put the first one. So I have a bunch of the townships I have that are involved so far. That have the only two townships that have given me locations are Doylestown Borough and Doylestown Township.
Mhm.
And then I've met with Morrisville, Lower Makefield, Middletown, Plumstead, Falls, and Wrightstown. So the ones that give me the locations first are going to be priority. And my goal is to put in the first one in the spring, since obviously they're not going to get used much in the winter.
And then what's the timeline once we commit? If we do commit to this process, what would the timeline?
For it to be put in place, the pop-up,
Yeah, from the time our Board of Supervisors says, yes, let's go forward to this, till the time the pop-up shows up, what's the timeline and what's expected of the township?
what's expected of the township is that, so once you guys give us the location, we get the approval from PennDOT, we'll have a design put in for the location. So if it's 12-foot shoulder, whether we're doing a one-way bike lane, a two-way bike lane, whether we're doing it on both sides of the street. So we'll have that design. We have an engineer on our board of supervisors for TMA Bucks that's going to be helping us with the engineering design of the bike lanes, what materials we're gonna need. And then we would set a date, a allotted amount of dates for the pop-ups. Usually pop-ups are put into place between 4 and 14 days. And then we would also want to do marketing just so that the township, the residents in the township know when we're going to be putting this pop-up into place. That's the most important thing. So it gets used. So we actually have data.
So then if this is successful, you would help us then look for grant funding for permanent.
Yeah, so the travel options program has grants that go into place. So this is a 2-year one. So then there'll be another one that comes out in 2 years. And then this is successful enough in a few townships, then we would apply for a new grant to put them in permanently.
Okay, so you're looking to do a grant.
The goal is for it to be permanent. Yeah. So that's the point of this grant, is to test it out, like the demonstration, the expo project.
So I guess my question to the board, is this a project that you want to pursue? And if so, I would recommend making a recommendation to the board so we don't miss out on the opportunity.
Can I just, one question, Monica, for Allison?
Yes.
Allison, what does a pop-up look like physically? What does a pop-up mean? Like you do it, you put it in place. What am I looking at when I go on that section of road?
Sure. I have a picture of one, but I don't think you'll be able to see it. But it looks like a normal bike lane, except you put things up like cones instead of, the thing is that you still use paint, but in order for barriers, you would use like cones and things like that. And then we'd still go in and paint like the sharrows that are pictures of bikes. And then we would be doing like the setup and the cleanup process. So a pop-up is it looks just like a bike lane. It's just the fact that it's not permanent. It's not going to be there for a long period of time.
But when you go to permanent, does permanent ever involve like additional paving or anything?
Permanent bike lanes, in the location that you're talking about, it would depend. So if you were to put it in the 12-foot shoulder that Monica is talking about.
Monica, is that a paved shoulder? Do you know?
Excuse me?
Yeah, it's paved.
Yeah, it's paved shoulder. Yep.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. There's a picture of it in the slides that were in your packet, so you can see.
It says bike lane, pop-up bike lane examples.
It's this page, if that helps at all.
So if we pursued the, if it was successful and we pursued the permanent, is TMA Bucks trying to fund that for us also? Or are they pursuing the Bucks, or are they giving us the pop-up with the hopes that we pursue the permanent ourselves?
We haven't really talked about it yet. So right now we're focusing on this, but like I said, we still want to apply for the travel options program since we were successful in this one and obtaining that amount of money just for the pop-ups. So if the pop-ups are successful, then it would be probable.
Just to let you know, Jim texted me as a second option could be Afton Avenue into Yardley as another possible.
That was my,
Yeah.
so I grew up in right near Narber. So like I checked. So it's on Haverford Avenue entering Narber, the borough. And so there's a big road, Montgomery Avenue. You could equate it equivalent to like an Oxford Valley Road in terms of size. In some areas, it's 4 lanes. So it's a really dangerous road. And then Haverford Avenue is like a road that will take you straight into the town. It connects a lot of houses right into their main street where they're, where all their Yardleys are, like all their Yardley businesses. It has their playgrounds down there, their basketball courts. So like, to me, it would have a commuter path. It would serve kids. It would bring people into the town. I know Yardley's not Lower Makefield. So like, to what extent we care or don't care about that. Personally, I think like that's our attraction, until the other areas are developed with more businesses to go to. But sending it out there, I just, what are we connecting it to? It'd be, if you did Dolington, to me, you're connecting houses to like the school. It's
What
just-
about near the 9/11 Memorial
That's
Park?
kind of in that vicinity. But
What was
I think
that?
you're on Dolington past that, right? Going towards 532, Monica?
For which?
Going
new
towards
bike
this one that
path?
we're talking about. It's on Dolington going up towards Route 532.
Oh, which one? The Afton Avenue one?
No,
Which one?
no,
were we
the
The
original
suggested
one you
one.
were talking about.
The original suggestion.
Oh, yeah, yes, yes. And the reason is a lot of cyclists do ask for that to be safer. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
safety
It's
less
a,
than
it's a highly
activity.
trafficked road. It's not necessarily commuter traffic, but it's a
Yeah.
highly cycled road. And I think
Yeah.
it is a passageway to like 532 to Newtown or Washington Crossing for a lot of people. So I get it. I think that's a pretty dangerous road too, because it's fairly, I mean, it's probably not high speed limit. It's only 40 miles an hour, but people are going much faster than that. But
Mhm.
if there's room there, that would be a relatively straightforward, easy one to thicken it up a little bit, I would think.
Would it be possible to do two? Because there's such like, it's such different.
Yeah, so it depends
Setups.
how long they are mileage wise. We could do two. They would probably just have to be put in place at the same time. So because I'm going to be focusing on each township at the same time. Like I'm not going to have one up in Lower Makefield at the same time as Doylestown, just because I'm basically the only one working on this. So I'm not going to be able to do both at the same time. But I would not be opposed to doing two in the same area or
So
township.
Brody raised a good question about whether or not we can actually do something in Yardley. It's not our territory.
No, but Afton is, it's just taking it into Yardley.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't.
Connecting into, Afton Avenue into
Yeah,
Yardley.
to your point, I think we would definitely want to like,
We can reach out to Yardley.
Yeah.
I've reached out to them a few times and they have not gotten back to me, but maybe one of you did just because they know you.
Mhm.
I feel like their roads are, or would be more like the downtown roads in Narberth, which would be pretty hard to do it on because they have such tight parking and.
Also, because originally I was thinking like the road where the canal is that takes you down to the river next to CVS, but there's no room. There's not any, there's not any type of shoulder. So,
So Monica, the first spot that you said, it's Dolington going towards Woodside, right? Like the overpass to
Yeah,
95.
North of, by the overpass in
Yeah,
95.
I mean, I think that's a great location because that connects into then the paths to the, Memorial Park. And people do ride that way often. And I feel like the people on that side of 95, not the Memorial Park side of 95, like the Woodside Road Park, but the Dolington side of 95 kind of, can go up and down by the elementary schools, but don't ever go across the overpass to 95 to connect into the park because it really isn't safe. Like we live on that side. Actually, Allie's our neighbor. Hi, Allie. And we stop right there because it's just not safe. There's too much, people go fast, there's blind spots, it's just not safe to cross over.
You just said Afton so the CVS road, were you just looking in Yardley or were you looking all the way like like across from Starbucks and up from Starbucks, up the lake and up that hill?
I think like on the hill there would be, but then after the hill, there's a sidewalk, but there's no shoulder. If I'm imagining it correctly.
Yeah, I think you might be right.
So it would depend. Because there are pop-up bike lanes that I've seen where they have to like kind of move it over a little, but those ones aren't as successful, especially with getting approval from PennDOT if it is on a state road. So I honestly think the area, the Woodside Road in Dolington would be good because like Kim said, people ride their bikes to the Memorial Park, people walk to the Memorial Park. And also I think if we do it at a time of year where it's nice out and we can do enough marketing to let the community know, hey, there's going to be bike lanes here. I think that especially Lower Makefield is a pretty active community that people would use it. And also, just some note that you guys don't have to give me any type of answers today. This is more of just like an introduction. I'm not in any rush since I did meet with you guys in like closer up order. You guys will be, if you give me an answer, eventually I'll definitely do it here. Especially since I grew up here, it would be nice to do it here.
Yeah.
I'm still not clear on the road we're talking about. Dolington, like Woodside goes up into Dolington. So where exactly is it on the? Is it by Beans Farm or is it on the other side?
I think they're talking about connecting from the
Park and ride all the way up past.
essentially it's gonna run across Snipes.
So
Isn't it
Jim's
the road?
sending
Yeah,
me
that's what I was
text
gonna
here.
say. That's what I'm picturing
Isn't it the
across
road that is
entrance.
south of Snipes?
He says
Snipes,
it's
yeah.
Dolington north of Woodside that's shown on the new Bucks County study map up to Odessa Lane by Beans. Farm. I
Beans
think
Farm,
that is.
yeah, so that's the
Yeah.
other side of it, Mike, that's the other end of
Yeah.
Woodside. That's if you come up Woodside from the traffic light, from the bottom of the hill, you get off
Yep.
off the highway. And you go up Woodside. Woodside then makes a left towards Memorial Park, but Dolington continues. So it's
Okay.
that piece of Dolington I think they're talking about.
Oh, that's not where I was picturing then. I
Yeah,
was
I-
picturing by Snipes.
Yeah, I think it should really go from Dolington and Woodside across 95 and connect, like the Quarry Hill and Afton.
Yeah,
and that
that's where I
area.
was picturing.
And then that we could also, because we're building a bike path on Wood or bike path on Woodside Road to connect to the canal. So, that would be another connection from that area down to the canal and also up to the Garden Reflection, Memorial Park.
When are
Yeah, I
you
think that just
building the
makes it
bike
full
lanes
circle.
for? When are you building the bike lanes for crossing 95 to get to the canal?
That's not going to cross all the way, so it'll go down Woodside and end. And that is in progress right now.
Okay.
Be starting soon.
The other interesting spot, but I like the idea of, I mean, we don't do much over there, so I do like the idea of doing something over there personally.
Mhm.
The other interesting spot would be coming from the Giant and going out towards Shady Brook. Essentially building the bike path up until what that development is going to be giving us, because that development's not going to be, I don't think that development goes all the way to Giant. But that's also like, if this is successful, that's something we can come back and do.
Yeah, as an option for connectivity. Yeah. So this could potentially be a very long stretch. It
How many
sounds like.
miles would you like? What's your ideal mileage?
I would say because it's a pop-up, nothing over 2.5.
Oh, geez.
Pop-ups are usually not very long.
And what time of year would
The spring. So I want to put the first one in between May and March of 23. Once
So
it starts getting warmer out.
since
or
we're a
March and
little
May,
bit
so
Up in
backwards.
the air about location, why don't we come back to this in November? It's gonna be my recommendation with a better plan of what that would look like. And then I can, then you can make a recommendation, the board of supervisors, we can reach out to Allison. Is that an okay timeline for you?
Yeah.
Reaching out to you,
Yeah.
say mid-November?
Yeah, just so then I can reach out to PennDOT if it is on a state road.
And if we're
Yeah.
thinking 2 locations, then we should be thinking like about about 1 mile each, right? Like not 2 locations.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So in total, whatever we kind of want to propose, a total of 2 miles or so, 2.5 miles.
Yeah.
More.
So
Okay.
I'll get with Jim on this a little bit and then I'll reach out to you with some proposals throughout the month. And then we'll come up with something to bring to the board meeting.
And my last question is just like up in New York City, they kind of have like bike lanes and then parking. So it'd be sidewalk, bike
Mhm.
lane, car, street.
Uh-huh.
Is this the same concept without the parking, most likely? Like sidewalk?
Sidewalk.
lane,
Yep.
cars driving?
Mm-hmm.
And a permanent one, would there be some sort of curb between the bike lane and that, or is it no?
Most likely, like that's what I was saying. For the pop-ups, we use like cones as the barrier or something of the sort. So I have like I'm gonna give this to you guys, but it's just a list of like different materials that could be used for pop-up bike lanes. This is just a project proposal.
Fantastic.
Mhm.
And then I think it's safe to say that we're interested. It's just a matter of determining logistics.
Yeah, and like I said, no rush, especially since my goal is to put them in by March. So I think the timeline you gave me, November, is good.
Okay, good. Perfect.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody have any other questions or anything?
Let me ask you a question of Allison before she leaves. Allison, if you do it and the experiment unfortunately fails for whatever reason, what do you do? Just pick everything up and say it was a failed experiment?
Yeah, I would just learn from it. So like I said, I'm doing it in different townships.
Yeah.
So let's say I did one in Doylestown before I did one in Lower Makefield, and the Doylestown one was extremely unsuccessful. I would take what I did wrong in Doylestown and not do it in Lower Makefield. And in the end, if none of them were successful, it's a demonstration project. It's an experiment. So I guess that's kind of the point of it.
And then if they are successful, then they're candidates to be moved forward to the permanent.
What was that?
If they are successful, if the pilots or these pop-ups are successful, then they're candidates to be moved into a permanent setup.
Yeah, so that's the goal of the
Okay.
project, but the ways that we would, so DVRP, this is something I didn't mention. DVRPC granted us also with like a data counting machine that would go up at the pop-ups. And I would put in the data counting machine before we put in the pop-up to see how much it's used. Like it counts the amount of people, the amount of cars that go by, the amount of bikers and the amount of pedestrians. So I would put that in before we put in the pop-up, and then we would put it in during the pop-up to be able to see the percentages of either increase or decrease of each one of those things. And then also, like I said, I would do a pre and post survey just to gain some qualitative data.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
No, you did great. Thank you very
Thanks.
much.
I'll just give this.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, glad to have you.
Hey, Monica, with
Yes.
regard to the locations, are we able to get like the input of the police department, if that would
Yes.
be problematic or not problematic, or?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I
Mhm.
think there's a lot of interesting, like potential ways you can implement it. You know, when I think of like roll-offs road, like roads that like are residential roads that people drive too fast on, that you could like, you know, like a 25-mile-an-hour road that people just drive too fast on, you know,
Mhm.
adding a bike lane, or like a road like Acton where you're trying to get to a place, you know, this like out by bike trails, you know, like there's
Sure.
different needs of connectivity and different ways of like, you know.
We have to remember
I can see
too, we
different
have
positives of it, you know?
our connectivity plan where there are gaps identified, where if we could find a,
Yep.
you know, good 2 mile stretch, we could always look into that.
I think it's a great way to see how something would work without committing to it actually happening, if it's an area that we're unsure about.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Allison? Thank you. She
Could-
did- in
Could
ca-
you
in-
send me a copy in the email? Because all I have is a printout. Yeah, yeah, thank you. Yeah, Jim printed it and gave it to me. Yeah. I do appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.
In case you couldn't hear, she's gonna send us slides of some other examples so we can get a better feel for how some other ones look. Continuing along, do we have anybody on the line for liaison report? Negative, okay.
Busy season right now.
Yeah, it is. I know that, PAA is in the midst of travel tryouts. I don't know what else is going on, but you know that. So no liaison report today. Director's report, Monica.
Oh, I'm gonna share my screen real quick here. I love a good slide, you know? Okay, so I'm gonna give you a little update. First on my list is just Capra. We did get our formal accreditation certificate, which I included in your packets. I didn't put it in the slides, but I am very excited. Makes it so much more official. We went to went to Arizona. Lynn Todd and I went to Arizona. We presented while we were there, went well. We learned a lot. I mean, really, it was a great opportunity for us. We also learned how small we were in the grand scheme of things, which was great to see too. So it was a really great experience, but I wanted to share that. And we should be getting a, almost like a trophy plaque thing that we can house in the community center. So when that arrives, I will bring that and let you guys see it at a meeting. So there's that. Yeah, we'll have to take turns. Everybody gets a day with the Capra accreditation. So today we're going to talk a little bit about Art in the Park, the follow-up. This is the grant theme presentation today. Lots of grants just became available, which is fantastic. We're going to talk about a 5 Mile Woods ADA accessibility project. We're going to talk about the community trail update, Woodside Trail gap, and a potential PennDOT grant. Update on Skylar tennis courts and another potential grant that we're going to pair the Memorial Park and Veterans Square projects. So I'm going to talk to you about the Art in the Park. There was a grant due for Visit Bucks County that we went for Art in the Park. We asked for $5,000 for that project. we're going to put in $5,000 and Artists of Yardley is going to put in $2,500 as part of this grant application for the art installation and programming and marketing for the project. We could not do this alone. We did partner with Artists of Yardley as a nonprofit agency, and they did the formal application. We did it jointly, which was allowed, but we had to do this in partnership with a nonprofit organization. So we will be working on an agreement. So if we do get the grant, how that will work and the logistics of that when it comes forth. Artists of Yardley also did agree to provide some programming as partnership with this within the parks, but we're also going to look at say dance studios or theater or anything else within the parks that we can include as part of the programming. So that is a big grant we should hear about in the next month or so. So excited to hear about that. And I include the application in your packet just so you could see it. The next project, a grant became available, the Pico Green Region Grant in partnership with Natural Lands. They offer a grant annually. This grant we went for based on a couple different things. This is an accessibility to nature. Oh, it didn't switch. It's switching for me, but not for you. There it is. Okay. So we did submit the application. Application is in your packet, so you can see what we did. We took a chunk of the ADA transition plan and kind of turned it into something. The big part of this project is creating an opportunity for those who are have mobile disability to be able to access the park easily. So they'll be able to come in, park. So parking lot would be part of this, parking spaces that are lined for ADA accessibility and 600 feet of trail, which you can see lined here that bring you back to the vernal pools, which is one of the most exciting parts of the park. And then there'll be a small platform at the end that, everybody can, with a little bit of education on it, that everybody can enjoy within the park. So this is part of the ADA accessibility plan, getting people into the park, giving them access. And it'll be kind of like a wood boardwalk that leads back to that area, 600 feet of wood. And you can see this other little branch right here that takes you to the classroom. That's at 5 Mile Woods. So that's kind of the goal of this grant, looking to tackle one of those ADA projects. A smaller project, smaller grant. We went for $10,000. We will need to match it. We do have money in the fee in lieu that we can use because this is a new project within a park. So we plan to use fee in lieu money for this. And then we'll be going to the Board of Supervisors at the next week's meeting so they can do a formal resolution. We did ask for permission to get a resolution after the fact since last Board of Supervisor meeting was canceled. So we kind of had to go through this process relatively quickly, but we were able to come up with something. I worked with John Helferty on this project. He helped me come up with a location. Jim Majewski kind of helped with the logistics, and we came up with a really great application I feel very good about. So hopefully we can get this.
So just a question on that.
Mhm.
So that will be wood pathway for 600 feet, and the 20,000 would cover the materials and everything that would be needed to build.
It's
that along?
Yep, the materials, and the Friends of 5 Mile Woods and other volunteers and staff would build it. So it'd be the kind of a community project.
Okay.
Mhm.
And for maintenance moving forward, would that be something that would then have to be kind of put into the budget, or do we already have something in line for that type of thing, or, is that?
We do have boardwalks now. Friends of 5 Mile Woods clears and fixes the boardwalks within the park, and sometimes we do it through Boy Scout projects. It's going to be a composite wood instead of because the regular wood will rot. So we're looking at doing a composite. It also gets very slippery when the moss grows on it. So we really don't want that. So we're looking for something that's going to last a little longer, but it'll be something that the Friends will help us maintain for the future, for the foreseeable future. I mean, they've been out there since the 70s helping maintain the park. So we're looking at trying to make that park more accessible, provide in the future more programming, maybe rehabilitate the facility so we can run some classes in it in the future. That would be the goals, trying to use that park to its best.
And would that be the end of the ADA there, or would there be something planned in the future if we got additional grant funding or additional funding to do other paths that might be available there?
Well, we wanted to do a lot more.
That's okay.
You know, so there's definitely potential to do more. It's just, you know, this grant was for 10,000 with 10,000 match. So
Got
with
it.
$20,000, this is what we could tackle of the plan.
Okay.
So
But if we
that's-
want it, like in the future, there's
there's always more we can.
plans that we could go different
Mhm.
pathways or whatever to expand it.
Yes, I mean, initially the goal was to create a loop, so
Right.
we could make a complete loop through. Apparently that was rather ambitious. Um, so we cut it down to 600 feet. So, you know, with time, maybe we can get that loop or add more of those platforms, education platforms where, you know, someone could stop, talk about, you know, what's going on, the frogs, the vernal pool, you know, what is happening in that site, which would be really neat. So
Monica?
that's kind of what we're looking at. Yes.
So do you know how wide the path is, and will there be railings, or is it just a flat, wood platform walkway?
We're looking at a flat wooden platform walkway with guide rails on the base.
And how wide are you thinking the path would be?
It's 48 inches, and every 200 feet, there has to be a turnaround bump out.
So not very wide.
Yeah, that's why you do the bump outs every 200.
Yeah.
Because we did it, you could do it 5 feet wide, but that'd be too wide for the size, the size of the path. So, and plus much more expensive. So we were looking at doing 48 inches in compliance with the ADA standards with the 200-foot bump out, like we did at Memorial Park. There's every 200 feet, there's a bump out for a turnaround or a pass by.
Thank you.
I will need to get the motion from the Board of Supervisors on Wednesday. So if the Park Board wants to approve and recommend this to the Board of Supervisors, I would really appreciate that. That'd be great as a fee in lieu expenditure. You guys already approved the Barton Park last week. Yeah. So this is a separate. Yep. I was just updating you.
So Monica, you're looking for a motion for this?
Yeah, I need a motion, please.
I make a motion.
All right, Rob makes a motion to approve.
I'll
I have-
second it.
Sorry about that. I didn't realize it wasn't. All right, so we have a motion from Rob Labar, seconded from Mike Blundy. Call to question. All in favor?
Aye.
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 5-0. That's, I don't think I actually stated what the motion is. So the motion is to suggest to the Board of Supervisors that we want to support the 5 Mile Woods ADA accessibility Pico Green Region Grant. And the match would come from fee in lieu.
$10,000.
$10,000 match coming from fee in lieu.
Monica, you
better next
compared it
time.
to like the turnouts at Memorial Park. Is that path, you're talking about that like 3/4 of a mile long path in Memorial Park, and is that about the same width?
The rubberized path at Memorial Park that we just installed is about the same width. Yes.
Oh, the rubberized one. Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
The one around the Garden of Reflection.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
And
And
is
you
that-
know what, just to further, I wanted to show you what it looks like. On the left here is what it looks, oh, it didn't change. Just taking its time.
You had an unstable internet pop up earlier.
And I'm just going to assume that that is an appropriate
Yeah.
width for wheelchairs and whatnot, right?
Oh, there it is. So if you look at right now, this is the front entrance of the woods on the left.
Yeah.
So you can see it's stepped down. There's no way a chair or anybody who has any kind of mobility issue could get down. That's just the entrance. And the number of routes throughout the path are just, that no one could get through.
Yeah.
So on the right-hand side is similar to what it would look like if you can see
Yeah.
the base rails. And then in the middle here is where it's taking you to, is the vernal pool area.
Yeah, you were saying though, it's a 40-inch wide path, and that's, I'm guessing that's the right width for wheelchair access. and everything.
Yeah, Jim Majewski gave us the ADA standard, so that's what we're working off of.
Got it. Okay, great. Yeah,
Mhm.
sounds good.
It's 48, right? Not 40?
4-8.
Yeah, 40.
Yeah, that,
Maki, you want to do the?
I mean,
community
that's
trail
small,
update?
I think.
Yeah, it's small. So he said.
I think it's small. I mean, you couldn't walk 3 abreast.
No, we couldn't, for sure.
Well, the idea is getting in a wheelchair down there. I mean, we applied with those measurements. If there's a change, we could make a change, but right now this is how the application looks.
A community trail update? Grant project update?
Yeah, community trail, the trail in its entirety is paved. The only thing that we are waiting for, is the ADA ramps. So that takes some time, it turns out. So every time you apply for the ADA ramps, it's a 28-day review period. And if they come back with feedback and you provide a new submission, you have to wait another 28 days. And we have a number of ramps being approved at the same time. So it's a matter of just getting these ramps through the approval process so that they can install. Once they're approved, they will be installed in their entirety also, and the whole project will be done. We're very close to done. I mean, very close.
What about the crosswalk?
The crosswalk is the next phase. I actually have to get an update on that. Mhm. Does anybody have any questions about this?
I have a question, but it was more, I'm gonna ask this more as a resident.
Mhm.
It felt like there was a lot more trees taken down than I expected. I felt like when we spoke about it, they said a few, and it looks like more like 25, 30 trees came, like, it looks like a lot of trees came down. I was just wondering more, that happens. It's a gorgeous bike path and it was a necessary step.
Yeah.
I guess I was just wondering, like, there was a lot of really mature trees, needles. I think you might have said they weren't, they local trees,
No, they weren't.
but they're actually good trees for, the needles do a good job of breaking the sound.
Mhm.
So I guess I was just wondering if there is some sort of plan to, get some degree of trees back.
Yeah.
in that park that we just-
So part of the tree removal was sightline. So, just making sure that anybody crossing that crosswalk will be safe entering the crosswalk. So part of it was sightline. We actually have a student from Delaware Valley University who's working on her landscape architecture degree, and she asked me to do a project in the parks as her senior final project. And I said, well, we have this site, that site, and by Keola.
Yep.
And because she needed a large parcel. So she's going to take that on as her senior project to create us a landscape architect plan oversight with her professor. So we are looking at something there and I think she'll come up with something very nice. We've been talking quite a bit and she's doing a great job. So she also is a resident of the township too. So, it means something to her. Hopefully I'll be coming to you with something from her soon.
Looks awesome though.
It does look great. You know what? And a lot of people are using it already on a regular basis. So it's fantastic.
And the crosswalk, I was asked about the rollouts one, the crosswalk down at Edgewood, is that like,
That's getting improved also, I believe. And then across from the,
they both
Spread out.
phase two?
I believe it's part of this project.
Right.
So I just don't know the timeline on them. Once I do, I'll let you know though. I promise. I'll keep you in the loop. So that I have. Does anybody else have any questions on these paths?
Looks great.
Thank you. We're very excited about them, that's for sure, especially for summer camp and actually seeing how active they are. Very excited. Sorry, my computer is just deciding to, oh, hey, look at that. All right, Woodside, a bike path update, project was awarded in the September 21st meeting to Richard E. Pearson Construction for the amount of $646,200. This is I just want to remind everybody that this is a project that, is partially grant funded. So, the contract is out for signature as when I was creating these slides, not sure if it's signed yet, but it was out for signature. So there is that. Anybody have any questions? I'll try my best to answer them. This project I'm less familiar with at this time until it gets started. So, okay.
Assuming it's gets signed, when is the proposed, start of that project then?
Well, I was kind of hoping they'd start this fall, but I think we might run out of weather. So I still have to wait and find out that usually we have timeline meetings along the way. They'll get 3-week updates. So as I get updated and the contract is signed, I'll give you more information. But me realistically working a lot of these projects, we're heading into fall very quickly. And unless, we get moving soon, I see it being more of a spring project. That's anecdotal from Monica Tierney, not an engineer. A grant opportunity, another grant opportunity. PennDOT will be opening up a multimodal transportation grant. The deadline is November 14th. We have discussed for years since I've been here, connecting all of our bike paths. We do have that long range bike path plan that was created. I met with the staff, Jim Majewski, and our new planner, Dan McGlone, and we kind of went over some higher priority gaps that we might want to address with this grant. Now, we're gonna have to look at a couple of different things. Will we have funding to match the project? How much are these projects going to be? And, I believe they're all grant eligible for this particular grant, but just want to kind of dot all of our I's and cross all of our T's. What I'm looking for you today is I'm going to tell you the 3 sites. I'd like to know what the park board's feeling is on prioritizing those. So as we move forward, if I can fill in a grant, where would be the priority based on what kind of funding match we have in our fee in lieu and our capital improvement funds that we could put towards it. Understanding that if we do get the grant, we would have to identify it in our budget, but it probably wouldn't hit our budget until 2024. So we would have to keep that in mind as we move forward. So this grant's only a 30% match grant. So that Woodside bike path, I told you it was about 664,000. So that's how much, we have to, the bike paths are expensive. So we have to kind of consider all these things as we move forward. So we're looking at 3 different projects. Oh boy, my computer's taking over. One is a community trail phase 2, which would be a linkage into the current community trail. And I'll go through each one of these in slides. Then there's the Edgewood Village linkage. There's 3 links within that proposed project. And then the Woodside link into Yardley Borough, which we couldn't afford as part of this project that we're doing right now, Woodside Road. It would continue that into Yardley Borough and do all the traffic necessary, all the, that would be necessary for that grant. So here's just, I'm taking you through some pictures here of what the community trail phase 2 would consist of. You can see in red here, or green, what would phase 2 would be. There's 2 little sections here, one up by Edgewood Road and one potentially down Oxford Valley Road. The first little link here would be Edgewood Road sidewalk. It'd be 670 feet north on the north side and 500 feet on the south side to connect those current bike, or I believe there's sidewalks there. So that would be one part of this project. And then the second part of this project would be 925 feet from softball down Mill Street Road on the north side and 1,800 feet on the south side of Hearthstone. This will be a hardy project. It would probably be a very expensive project. So just want to let you know, all of them are, I'm not gonna lie. And the Edgewood Village linkage, there's a bunch of linkages here. You can see in green where we would be linking. There would also be upgrade for signal ADA access. This links Mirror Road Gap for 570 feet, Edgewood Road Gap for 505 feet with needed upgraded signal, as I mentioned. And Stony Hill Road Gap, 625 feet to Fox Hollow Drive, and 1,000 feet from Fox Hollow Drive to Hidden Pond Drive. And then lastly, the connection to finish the Woodside bike path that we're working on now would connect the proposed bike path at northwest corner of the intersection with Taylorsville Road to a new path installed by DRJTBC located on the southeast corner of the intersection with Taylorsville Road. The work would include traffic signal upgrades, revised striping at the intersection, and adjustments to the guardrail and ADA accessible ramps. I believe we have engineering, well, we do. We have engineering on this because we were considering this as part of the Woodside bike path. So there's some work already done on this particular path. So I'm going to just open up the discussion to see if there's any priorities or if anybody on the park board has a feeling one way or another of where we should focus, even if it's a piece of one project or another.
I guess I'll start, since we have that slide up. So that I understand everything, that would be the intersection of Taylorsville, right where that would allow going across to the new park and ride, also access to the bridge that now has a bike path. And the project that we're currently doing it, or that's getting signed, is Woodside. Where is that?
Right now,
LR, and then like what we just discussed with the temporary pop-up, would that connect all of that from going from Woodside down to basically the Delaware towpath and everything
yes,
then?
it can links you right in. It's that final little piece.
Okay.
Mhm.
And I know we have the plans for this. Do we have a understanding of the possible cost of what this portion would involve?
I'm not sure that we have it costed out, to be honest.
I mean, from my standpoint, like, I think all of them are
Mhm.
definite projects that need to be done. I guess the question, from my perspective at least, is prioritizing them. Which one will finally get us connectivity for some things, instead of just doing one little portion here like Edgewood Village, let's say, that doesn't give us anything else. If we do the pop-up, we do this, and we do the project here, and all of a sudden that's a whole side of thing that's been connected and done. What everybody else's thoughts are, but
Well, I think that makes sense that, this would complete the, the connection and across a pretty dangerous intersection too. So, I would think that this would be, something that we'd want to consider, sooner rather than later, since, it would be the final piece of the connection.
I don't know which one is the better one to consider, but I would say the priority should probably be where we can address safety, where safety might be a bigger concern rather than convenience, just given I'm trying to come up with some way of prioritizing here. I would err on the side of choosing the option that probably provides a higher level of safety.
So you're suggesting Woodside?
I was just suggesting whichever one provides a higher level of safety. I don't know which one does, but clearly this one does because of the Taylorsville Road crossing. But I don't know how to compare that or contrast it to the others in terms of safety, but yeah, if anyone has a sense, well, please speak up.
You know, I could reach out to the police to get their feedback also, what their priorities would be. So we know park board priorities, police priorities. So we get the full picture.
Kim, any thoughts? Kim, do you have any thoughts or you good? I mean, I guess my thought is, Rob, I think what you said makes a lot of sense. I'm curious to understand which the Edgewood ones are. The extension of community trail. I mean, I'm not sure how much value we get out of that, to be honest with you, because the path across on the east side, or is that considered on my side of the road? Is that considered the east side? Is the fields on the east side, or like what side of the fields are on?
You're challenging my
Sorry.
frame of reference. I'm
Yeah.
not really sure.
So the community center side of the non-community center side of Oxford Valley Road has a path that extends all the way down to the road past Mill Road. So it already goes and that connects all the development to the right. So really the extension that you're talking about, it's really only getting the 15 to 20 houses that line Oxford Valley past the synagogue across Stony Hill. So like, although it's definitely would be a safety help, I'd be a lot more buck for than bang. Like there's just not a lot of people. And the developments that are there don't really have access to that. Like the entire left side of the road where I live, we have no access to Oxford Valley. Like we're kind of cut off from Oxford Valley the way the development's built. And I also kind of just think that we're putting in a crosswalk on Oxford Valley. So to extend that community bike path, like you don't need to. We have a very good crosswalk, 2 bike lanes. So to me, and I live right there, I kind of just consider community trail 2 to be kind of like a waste in terms of cost and bang for the buck. That would be my perspective. I do like the idea of like, I do like the idea of if we're doing Woodside, which we are, and that's coming soon, and we're doing the pop-up, like, let's finish it off and, you know,
You finish as a project.
get that side of the bike path done. And just be done with that.
Yeah, I think
there's
it
definitely something there.
completes, it kind of brings everything to completion. And I think just like with the pop-up, you know, focus on what's nearby that people would be trying to get to and get people into the parks and the locations that they can't currently get to and get the most houses to those locations. So like you said about the other one, there's not a lot of houses. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And get the most houses.
I think Edgewood would also be more interesting once like Wegmans and that whole area has been developed, because then we'd have a better sense of like what access roads to that part of town, like, you know, are more useful than not. And then just another thing I was thinking about earlier, should we be doing pop-up bike lanes before we actually implement a bike lane? Like, should we not be like spending a ton of money to implement a bike lane? Should we be doing a pop-up bike lane before we implement bike lanes to ensure that it's actually a sensible place to have a bike lane?
This is a bike path, not a lane.
Oh, so it's off the road.
It's off
so-
the road. Yeah, we don't have any bike lanes. I don't think. Jim
No, no, we
Majewski's
don't.
on. I don't think we have any bike lanes. Yeah.
That's correct, Monica. And if I may, I know Mr. Brody had mentioned that the Oxford Valley Road connection only connects 17 or 20 houses. What it does connect is all of the developments that access the current bike path that's on the west side of Stony Hill Road. All those developments have a bike path and then it ends at Stony Hill. So this would connect all of the developments that are down there. All the people live off of Emerald Drive, even people who live in the townhouse complexes. So it's not just to connect those couple of houses, it would extend across Stony Hill Road, connect to the
Is that the-
existing bike path system.
So is that the section between Stony Hill and I'll call it like the Coles Oxford Valley Road?
Correct,
Hecock and Hecock and Oxford Valley.
correct.
And so there's a bike path over there currently.
Yes, there's a bike path all the way down along Oxford Valley between the Coles section of Oxford Valley Hecock Road and Stony Hill Road. And then it ends, and then it doesn't pick up again until you get up to roll-offs.
I'm gonna anecdotally, regularly I see kids on bikes drop off there and then there's no trail for them.
I didn't
on the
realize,
edge there.
I didn't realize there's a bike path over there or that it went that far.
Yeah, like
Because that,
if you go from like Nico's down that,
Yeah.
there's a path that you can go.
Okay.
And then
Just
you
stop.
hit Stony Hill right before that, and there's no way of getting to the pool. There's no,
Right.
I
No,
live
that's-
over on
yeah,
that
yeah.
side, so.
And then the other section on, for Edgewood Village, there's several little gaps there where you can't really get into the heart of our commercial area with the Giant and McCaffrey's and the pizza places and the stores. And looks like that slide's a little bit messed up there, but there is a proposed path that's going to go from the Prickett Preserve project across 95 and down Stony Hill Road to connect into Langhorne Yardley Road where there's an existing sidewalk. We do have a gap in front of the Woodside Presbyterian Church. In that area, I think the township actually took fee in lieu of money about 30 years ago, and they never built anything with it. And that money's long gone, but there's a gap there from the bike path that's right near Giant, leading up to where the Masonic Hall is. Also, we have a bike path that was built in front of Veterans Square that they just left out any connection to get to any of the other intersections. So that would upgrade that traffic signal at Langhorne Yardley Road, Edgewood Road and Hecock Mirror Lake Road so that you could cross. And then the other section on Mirror Lake Road, there's a bike path for all those developments. But there's a gap right where there's an old stone house across the street from the Patterson farm. And that's the other area that is missing a piece of the bike path that would connect people all the way up near Yardley Newtown Road. And then hopefully someday that'll all be connected further.
Jim, of these, of the different sites, which ones do you think would have the greatest degree of land acquisition?
Land acquisition would probably be Oxford Valley Road would require right-of-way or an easement in order to accomplish that. The one on Mirror Lake Road, I believe there's right-of-way at the Woodside Presbyterian Church. There's right-of-way going down Stony Hill Road, or a minimal amount would need to be acquired. So that would require the least amount of right-of-way acquisition. And I guess the decision is kind of one of, I guess, policy. Would you rather connect to the commercial area in Edgewood Village and fill in those gaps at this time? Or would we rather connect those neighborhoods along Oxford Valley Road up towards the community center, pool in that area? They both have safety issues involved in them, which is why, one of the reasons why we chose these two locations in addition to the Woodside Road traffic signal crossing, because the grant does prioritize connectivity and safety. So these are the areas that are most easily feasible, have small gaps that are kind of manageable cost-wise, that maybe for $1 million grant, you might be able to afford to connect these areas.
I didn't realize that people in like the Oxford Glen Emerald area couldn't get to the pool. There's a lot of houses there. And so I think it makes sense for those folks to be able to safely get to the pool. If the focus is safety, getting to the pool, the library, tennis courts is more important than getting to the commercial areas.
You can get there. It just is a little bit less direct. You have to go up to like Edgewood and go down that way. You just can't
That come through.
go through Oxford Valley Road there and come out that way, because there's some dangerous curves there and no sidewalks at all.
And
But
do
you can
kids
go-
do that? Do they go that way or do they just go along the road where they shouldn't be because it's easier?
My kids were always told to go through the back your way to get onto Edgewood. So but did they go probably that because some of their buddies lived on down on that corner? Probably. So
I see kids going that way often.
Oxford Valley, up and down on this.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a gaggle of bikers.
Can we do a bike lane on that road?
No, it's too narrow, I think.
Wide down by me.
But where you are, there's bike path.
You would need to widen the road to create a lane to do a bike lane.
Mhm.
And if you're gonna do that, you might as well just do an off-road bike path.
So it sounds like I'm hearing Woodside Road and that bit of Oxford Valley Road are kind of the two higher priorities.
I mean, just going by how much the current Woodside is, I don't know if those two, so I guess the big question is, like the Edgewood, there's just small little things, so I think that would be more cost effective. Can we piggyback like the Woodside one and then do an Edgewood component, just one of them, or like, how does that work? I know it's a up to 3 million grant or whatever, but can we, do one or two, or do they have to be focused in on the same areas and stuff like that?
I think we could pick and choose what we wanted to do. I think the big thing is understanding that we can't go for $3 million. There's no way we would be able to match 30% of 3 million. So we're going to have to pick small projects here and there. And now you're seeing the bigger priority areas, right? And we can pick and choose them. I think Woodside's an easy package deal that we have prepared. That might be an easy first target. And then we can keep looking for grants for the other areas. But
And
I just
Monica,
have to
there's
find a
nothing to
cost.
say, you can't do Woodside and all or part of one of the other two
Yeah,
to make it maybe an
It just would depend
$800,000
on-
grant.
how much Woodside comes in as far as price estimates.
Woodside sounds like a pretty popular choice.
Okay, so I am, if you are all for Woodside as the priority, I will continue marching on with this in mind. And then if we can fit anything else into the grant with whatever we have on the back end to spend towards this, we'll tackle some of those sites. Is everybody in agreement with that?
I agree
Aye.
with that.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Good. We'll get everybody connected sooner or later. So the next project I wanted to talk to you, DCNR has kind of a pop-up grant that became available. We're trying to hop on this with one of the, this is grant day, everybody. So I know pop-ups, all the things. Yeah, so there's an opportunity that we can apply for. The max ask is $250,000 with a 50% match. We already have a plan to do the playground repairs at Memorial Park as part of the ADA transition plan. We already have funding allocated to that from the sewer sale. We already have money allocated towards the Veterans Square playground and ADA improvements. What we don't have is some of the other improvements that have been on the list for Veterans Square. So what we're looking to do is bundle these two projects together to come up with a good application with the emphasis on ADA implementation and connectivity. So that's kind of where we're going on this. We already started, because this is a quick turnaround. I believe it's due on the 27th of this month. So we already started to put together some of the framework because we already have a match. We already have everything. This will require some support from the Board of Supervisors also, which will be going to them on the 19th. This is projects that they've already approved in the past. So Veterans Square Master Plan had been approved in the past. The funding for all the projects that I mentioned have been approved in the last few months. So these are all projects that we had been looking at for. It's kind of like an easy package to put together, especially with the ADA transition plan in mind and our Play for All plan and all of that. So
Ultimately, these are two projects that we already approved and the Board of Supervisors already approved funding for.
yeah,
Now we're just finding out that if we apply for this grant, we can just get essentially a match of what we already,
we can do more than what we are planning to do right now, really. I mean,
without spending more money.
without spending more money. So that's kind of, now this would essentially build out Veterans Square, which has been a plan. I attached last week in last week's presentation, the old plan, and talked to you about some of the challenges with the ADA accessibility. This is a mock-up of what a new potential plan. I'm going to off the bat tell you there is a pavilion right there in the middle of the monument and the playground that nobody is really a fan of. So that might change with time, but for the sake of this meeting and for the sake of the grant, we know that we want a pavilion and we don't really necessarily like the placement in this diagram. That's from the Veterans Committee, from us, the Parks Department, just the location and the visibility and how it will be. This pavilion will have a bathroom, permanent bathroom. We already have sewer out there, so it wouldn't be a horrible hookup expense. The playground will be completely renovated and expanded. There will be a path that circles the remainder of the way, so there's a whole loop that goes to add, opportunity for exercise for the nearby, whoever businesses or whatever. There's a pollinating garden that would help with the rainwater. We're looking to pave the entire lot to make it an easier flow in and out. So these are some of this is what we're looking for as part of the grant application. What our original plan was is just the ADA accessibility, being able to get someone from here to here, here to here, or wherever we have. This is going to be the complete build out that Veterans Square will be done. So that's kind of what we're looking to do. If anybody has, and this is a change to what we were immediately planning. So if anybody has any questions or concerns or, any feedback on this, I'd love to hear it.
Monica, you're looking for a motion for this to bring to the Board of Supervisors or?
Yeah,
just,
a motion of support to bring to the Board of Supervisors as a grant application. They would have to, they already agreed to the funding, but we would
Yeah.
need a resolution to commit to the funding more formally for the grant application. So you can make a motion to move forward with this project in full. If you feel good about it, I'd be glad to do that. They complete, we would be asking for approximately $215,000 for a match, we would be matching $215,000. We have that money already allocated to projects that we are planning within the parks.
I'll make a motion to move forward. I think that's great that this money came up because we were talking about how underutilized this area is. I think it's fantastic.
I'll second the motion.
So just to be clear, what you have up here, is that what was originally proposed and budgeted, or is there more to it that would increase the budget that we're
We had approved it.
filling in with the grant money, or you understand what I'm asking? You said there
Kind
were some
of.
changes to.
Yeah, all the amenities here are the same with the exception of not what we approved in my last 5 years. This had been approved in the build out of Parks and Recreation as the master plan for Veterans Square by the Board of Supervisors. I can't even tell you what year that happened, to be honest, but, so all the amenities are the same here with the addition of bathrooms. Bathrooms weren't included in the build out before. But I do feel it's a need. I think people could spend more time at the park. Right now we pay for porta potties and they're heavily used there at the park. And I just think that'd be a great addition to what we have to offer. Plus it'd provide ADA accessibility to a bathroom too.
And with the grant and what has already been approved, is that going to be enough to add bathrooms and do all of that? That would be my only concern.
With the
is-
current cost estimates, yes, I'm still evaluating everything to make sure that we're a perfect match. So
Okay.
that amount may have to change. But right now it looks good as far as that we'll be able to cover everything. We're fine tuning. Right now, we're trying to pull together our last leg, but I wouldn't apply for something that we don't have a full match for. So if there's any part that we feel uncomfortable with, or even as we're moving forward, if there's something that we have to remove because we don't have enough, as long as we match whatever it is that our ask is, and we can finish that project, we can. We've done that in the past for Memorial Park East. We asked for a bigger build out and all we got was tennis courts and pickleball courts because the quotes, so we had to modify our plan. Now we have another grant application in for Memorial Park East to finish the rest.
I think this is a significant upgrade to what's there now. I think this is terrific.
Any other comments? We have a motion and seconded. Call a question? Yeah, I think it's called a question. Call a question?
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, 5-0.
All right, moving forward. Just,
Did I not properly say what we're proposing? there?
so that you're in favor of moving forward with this grant
Yeah, with the
application.
Veteran Square Memorial Park ADA Accessibility DCNR grant application.
Yes.
We'd like the Board of Supervisors to support that.
Yes.
Plan update?
Oh, you know what? I have Skylar here, but I guess I didn't make a slide from
Oh,
that.
we skipped it.
Oh,
It's just up.
okay, it's just out of order. Skylar Tennis Courts, the BOS approved the CoStar's vendor Keystone Sports Construction, Inc. September 21st. We're moving forward. We had initial meeting out on site. The amount of the project is $387,110.06. And it will also cover the paving of the parking lot. So that's incorporated with so that was the add alternate. So we had that pre-construction meeting and construction should start there shortly. We will get updates as it goes. I'll make sure to keep you posted. It looks like we could get a lot of it done in the spring. And then maybe even have to we can paint in the fall.
The fall.
And then maybe potentially temporary lines if people are still looking forward to using it until we can paint it in the spring, because paint is the trick. Paint needs very warm temperature. I think it needs to be above 60 or 70 degrees 3 days in a row before they can even lay the paint down, and it has to be good temperature while the paint is wet. So that's a challenge, and that's a challenge we face at Memorial Park. I want to make sure we do it right so we don't have any paint issues. So that's what we're looking at, but it is moving forward and it's very exciting to say, because I have to say, it doesn't look very nice and I think that we can do better. So I'm glad that we're moving forward with that. And then Makefield Park assessment, also on the 21st, the firm is selected is the JMT that we recommended to the board. We had an initial kickoff meeting. They gave us, we're kind of going over the contract with them back and forth a little bit. So when that's all done, we'll really proceed. We're looking at October 12th and 15th as on-site visits. So they're going to do assessment. I believe it's a Wednesday is a busier day at Makefield Park. So They really want to spend time, busy weekday, evening, busy weekends. We're looking to take some drone footage. They'll be doing some measurements. They'll doing some assessments of the park, just real baseline stuff. In the meantime, we're going to start forming a committee. So our committee we're looking at is 7 to 9 members. We're going to need 1 park board member on the committee. We're going to try and get 1 EAC board member and then a representative from all our current leagues, a community member at large, and looking to get neighboring residents involved also. We could also consider other potential users like cricket or field hockey as part of the discussion, but we're looking at around 7 to 9 is good committee size. So I'll start reaching out soon, but is there anybody in the park board interested in participating in the Makefield Park study group?
I can do that. if not.
Anybody, is everybody okay with Rob as the representative?
Good to me.
Perfect. I'll be seeing a lot of you.
Sure, and I'm
Fantastic.
happy to be Rob's backup if he has an issue.
What was that, Dennis? Can't hear you too well.
I said I'd be happy to be Rob's backup if he gets tied up.
Okay,
Perfect.
thanks, Dennis.
All right, so I have a first and a backup. That's perfect. And then I'm sure Miss Lori wants to be involved in the audience here. So I'm looking forward to getting started, and I'll start reaching out to everybody. And once we're ready to start having committee meetings, we'll have those. But I think we'd like to collect some data ahead of time before we get going. So, and that's it. And then, oh, I gave you, Kat wrote her very first assessment of the year. She wanted to be here tonight, but she had a conflict and couldn't come. So I'll bring her another day. She gave you a full, I will post this online too for residents to review. She did an assessment, a survey she sent out to all the residents. She had about 400 plus responses. A lot of great feedback about the staff and how professional and attentive they were, that people liked to see them doing drills in public. It made them feel good about their environment. Very high praises on amenities and how things were at the pool. So, I mean, all the feedback was generally really good. We didn't ask on pricing because really it was quality of service that she was serving, but we did have open-ended questions. There was some concern about pricing, but to be honest, you can see from the overall satisfaction that people who did pay felt like they got value from their membership. You know, they felt like they got what they were paying for. So all in all, it's very good. Actually, I've gotten a lot of email communication or just personal phone calls saying, you know, I left the pool last year because of the sticker shock, and I went to another pool and just really wasn't happy, you know. So I think we'll see some people back next year that we may have lost initially. So, you know, there's this full report for you. We did mention the Red Cross training and some of the initiatives for next year that we're looking at renovating the bathroom, hopefully before next season. And we do have that filtration project that we're working on right now. We had the filters on order, but there's some prep work we have to do in order for the installation because it's a big process. So looking forward to moving on that. If anybody has any questions about the pool overall, I'd be glad to answer them. Nothing? Okay. And then I don't know if I'm all done, but I'm not sure if Miss Lori has anything to say today.
Hi, thanks, Monica. Lori Gray, Slate Hill Road. I'm the property owner that my home backs right up to Makefield Park. So Monica, you'll be contacting me then to serve on that committee? Is that what?
Yes, I'm under the assumption that you're willing to serve. on the committee.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So as soon as we get meeting, I will include you in the communication.
Okay,
It might be a month or so until
Okay.
we're really talking about the committee, until we gather all the data to be able to go through and discuss.
and the assessment that's going to be done tomorrow, Wednesday, right, the 12th, and then on Saturday. And what time will they be out there? I didn't know if I heard you said evening or.
They're going to be on Wednesday. It's going to be in the evening. I believe they're trying to get there before people start coming.
Okay,
And then they'll plan to stay throughout the night. It's gonna be a long evening. And then Saturday will also be a long day. I think they're gonna be there on most of the day, doing analysis of the site so they
Is
can see the flow in and out, when are the peak times.
Great, because they do start around 7 a.m. I think it is on, at least I hear them around 7:30 a.m. on Saturday. So
Yeah, they.
I'm sure George is giving you the times that they're,
Practice starts usually around 8-ish, so he plans to be there much before, so they have time to set up.
okay, great.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Great.
you'll probably see them around, but it's more just studying flow and everything.
Right. They're just gathering data themselves, correct? There's no input from any other organizations or anything during these 2 times?
That's not the intention, not saying that anybody's going to ask them what they're doing out there or whatever, but that's not the object of this
Okay.
visit.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I appreciate it very much. Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no problem, Lori. Thank you so much. Hmm?
Monica,
Where were you at the last meeting?
Mhm.
Has the lights been better for the last, like,
Overall, yes. And I will say when there have been problems, I contact Monica as well as George from YMS, and he's very responsive. But yeah, right. Not perfect, but we're getting there. Thank you for inquiring. Thank you. I appreciate that. I don't know if you have any comments or not, Monica.
I can say it was really bad before it got better.
But I remember, that's why I asked. I remember I was slightly horrified last night.
Yeah, yeah.
Dennis
so-
has a question.
Yes, Dennis.
I'm sure Lori will be a wonderful candidate for that committee. I'm just wondering, will you have other residents, neighboring residents that may want to participate, and how are we going to handle their interest level?
I've actually met with other residents with Lori. So if they're interested in participating, we are trying to keep this committee only 7 to 9 because we don't want to make it too big, and we're going to do focus groups too. So in addition to this committee, but we really want to have a focused group. So we really want to keep it, pared down to 7 to 9.
Would that be focus
So
groups
as
of,
the
like, Lori
neighboring
and resident?
resident.
Sorry. Go ahead, Dennis.
It would be focus groups of residents at large, so anybody who is interested in the project who wants to participate. So there'll be this focused group, that's the committee group, and then there'll be other broader, bigger meetings.
And
So
so
when-
my intent is to serve on the committee with the 7 to 9. And just so the board is aware, I do keep my board association of Rivergate Community aware of everything, all the meetings that I'm attending. I give them like small minute, meeting minute notes after every meeting, any issues. When the temporary lights went in, I made them aware of that. So I am keeping the board aware as well, and they know that I'm planning on serving on the committee, and they're aware that there's going to be focus groups, and they just wanted to wait until they got more information before they sent everything out to all of the residents. So, but I've also been speaking individually with several of the residents and gotten some interested folks. So
Yeah, we definitely have some passionate, even outside of the local population, there's other people who are interested in how this might impact other projects that might be near their house or that kind of thing. So we might reach out to those folks too, just to kind of broaden the scope a little bit.
Dennis, did you have something else, bud?
I did not.
Anybody else? Anything on Snipe did you have anything on Snipes? Did you say, give a Snipes update? It says it on here, but you might not have.
I am looking to potentially move forward with some of the public feedback. I just have to kind of, right now we're reaching out for those natural assessments, and we're having some trouble finding someone to commit to those tree count studies and the habitat studies. So right now we have our feelers out, but we kind of want to get a better feeling when that would happen before we could set up. But I'm looking to set up some public feedback, even if it's not on site design, on what they would want to see at the site, open discussion. Just to have the conversation.
Moving on, pool update, I think you did.
Yeah, but I skipped over,
Which
I'm
one?
sorry, I
Okay,
skipped
cool.
through things.
Recycle pan efforts, do we have to, maintenance, I think we just have maintenance left. Recycle pan efforts, tree planting at Mirror Lake and Kids Kingdom.
Thank you for keeping me on track, I really do appreciate it.
I told Chairman Kraus that I would make
Yeah.
him proud.
We do have a tree planting that is going to happen hopefully in the next week or so. As part of our tree planting plan at Kids Kingdom. We did have to remove a number of trees in the last 2 years due to disease or, any of the like. We will be planting a significant amount out there. Ken's Lawn Service is coming into plan. Our staff are digging the holes and picking up the trees at Fernbrook. So it's a whole coordinated effort. We're using tree bank fund money to cover that. The next project would be Mirror Lake tree planting, which is more of we did hire a public works director, Derek Fuller. He now will be taking that over in his role because it's not really a park per se. It's so he will be handling that. We're kind of helping him. We're working hand in hand together. That will be a broad project, a long row of maples along Mirror Lake Road. We were trying to do that in the fall, but it's looking less and less likely. So I'm thinking that will probably happen in the spring. And then there's a slew of other tree plantings that would be coming up along, I'm thinking along Oxford Valley Road would be a next point to tackle all the way along Oxford Valley. And then there's another tree issue that we're looking at that plot of land by the CVS across from Kohl's. There are a bunch of the trees that were planted there are no longer under warranty, but they're dead. I mean, it's got to be 40 or 50 trees. So I'm going to meet Linda Salvetti. I say her name wrong every time, but out there from the EAC, she's the chair, and we're going to discuss maybe possibilities on how to address that. It is the buffer between the residents and CVS. So now their back windows are looking right into CVS. So we do want to address it. It's just timeline and scope and how we'll be able to, it seems like it was a lot of leg trees that died. So maybe we can try and address it with a different type of tree. So we're going to look at that. But that's that. Now we're just going through fall turnover transition. We'll be closing the bathrooms November, so be prepared. And we'll put out some porta potties in key areas, key high use areas. So we're just doing regular fall transition maintenance. We did update the maintenance plan. We found some flaws with it throughout the year. We did a revised version, just updating some of the checklists and some of the things that we missed. And that's it. That's all I have.
Anybody else have anything? I just want to say, it rained a lot last week. We redid the baseball fields. Right at Stoddard, we refinished the dirt on the baseball fields.
Mhm.
It rained a lot Tuesday and Wednesday, and the fields held up phenomenal for Friday scrimmages and tryouts and stuff like
Oh, you were able to play on Friday.
Yeah, we
That's
didn't have to, we didn't even, there really wasn't even a ton of work that needed to be done based off the amount of rain that came. So that was
That's great.
pretty awesome.
I like to hear that. That's good. So we plan to do still the same number of fields every year. I think we did four or three. So we plan to cycle through all the fields every year. So that's great. I'm glad that it's working.
Yeah, at least that time. If nobody else has anything, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
All
Thanks.
right.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye, everybody.
Hmm.